What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, wanted to talk about the layoff situation and how I find it funny that outlets or people or whatever, they're reporting on it in specific ways. And let me explain. So, I wrote down some numbers because there's been a lot of layoffs in this month, January alone, this year, in the tech sector. There was another layoff. How many people laid? It was a big giant number from, I think it was Comcast or something. I think it was Comcast. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm specifically talking about is how everybody's saying 1,900 people from Microsoft, right? They got let go and da-da-da-da. And that's what everybody's focused on because, I'm going to say it, the Xbox tax. And it's part of the console war stuff, right? But it's an indication of like what the industry is, how the industry feels about someone who is not number one, not the favorited. If everybody loved Microsoft, they wouldn't be treating them this way. Let's just be honest, right? Anyway, what I want to put into context or comparison or into a different light is how it should have been reported. Now, I have a list of companies here that have laid off people recently. We've got Unity, Wayfair, Google, Riot Games, Twitch, Discord, Audible, YouTube, and TikTok, right? Now, I did the math. Microsoft had 221,000 employees before they got ABK. Now, I did quick math, and I have some conflicting numbers. Some of the numbers say 9,000 employees at ABK, some say 2,000, and I'm like, 2,000 is a little bit too low, but it might be, I don't know. So off of the 2,000 or even the 9,000, whatever, 10,000, it doesn't actually matter. But like combining those numbers, whatever it is, it's over 221,000, obviously, right? So I did the math real quick on the whatever numbers I had, and it was roughly 9% were let go of Microsoft. So when I read this list, you'll understand why I'm kind of curious as to why they keep putting that 1,900 number up, but not the percentages. And they're also not talking about the other companies that have let go of thousands of people. Here we go. First, Unity. You know, they've been doing bad stuff. Thanks, John Riccatello. Anyway, they let go of 1,800 people. 25%. Okay? Wayfair. Sure, it's just an online store, but you know, whatever. It was on this list. 1.7 thousand people. 1,700 people. 13%. Google let go 1,000 people, and that was 5.5%. They have a lot of people there. Riot Games let go 530 people, 11%. They don't have that many. They don't have as many as Microsoft, obviously. Twitch let go of 500 plus people, 35% of their workforce gone. Discord, 170 plus people, 17%. Audible, 100 plus people, 5%. Same with YouTube, 100 plus people, 5%. And TikTok they let go 60 people, 1%. Now, if they would have just put it in the context of that, Microsoft let go of, 1,900 people, 9%. When you look at the bigger picture, is it as bad as, I don't know, what was the one? Twitch, where they let go of 35%? Or is it just the raw numbers that matter? And in that case, Unity is right there with them. But they let go of more of their staff. They let go of a greater percentage of their staff. Does that matter? Ultimately not, but it's curious to me as to why it is presented in such a way that it seems to be more damning, because I remember I saw this one article, well, it was not an article, it was a post on Twitter, where they put all the percentages of like what I just read. I think there was more too. But on Microsoft's, they didn't put the percentage. They put the number of people laid. I'm like, so where's the number of people? How are you going to switch it? Just put the number of people laid off for all of them so we can have a nice comparison. Don't get percentage, and then the actual number. That doesn't make any sense. How are we supposed to look at that and glean any type of information and say, okay, who's better, who's worse? I mean, they're all bad for letting go people, but who's letting go more people? You can't do that by percentages. And then, it doesn't make any sense to me. But whatever, a lot of things don't make any sense in this world. But yeah, that's just the one little thing I wanted to talk about as far as that goes. I was listening to Xbox 2 today. Rand and Jez. They're cool. It's a cool, nice, long show. That way you can work and get your stuff, get your nice conversation or whatever. And they were talking about Palworld. We always got to go back to Palworld. and the criticism of Palworld and why it is so much, a lot of criticism, and also the instances of the same type of scenario happening in the past with other games, and why people didn't freak out or whatever. Like my example was, they didn't say this, but my example is, first what they were talking about was how people are like, oh, Nintendo's gonna sue you, or Pokemon company's gonna sue you, and this and that and the third, because it looks too close to Pokemon, or the characters look too close to Pokemon, or they did the comparison side by side. And I'm like, if it was really that strong of a thing, they probably would be on it already, but whatever. Maybe they're just taking their time to gather a case up. Here's my argument to that. We have a game like, well, actually, it's not the game itself. It's the auto industry, let's just say. And they got their cars. GM has their cars, Chevy, Ford, all the Japanese companies, Lexus, Honda, Toyota, Acura, Kia, blah, 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 right? They have all the cars, right? Then Grand Theft Auto comes out, and even Burnout did this too. And they come out with a variation of a car that looks kind of like one of those cars. But it's not the car, but it looks like, oh, that looks like a Ferrari. Oh, that looks like the DeLorean, Or oh, that looks like a Vet. That looks like a Mustang, That looks like a freaking pickup truck, the Ford F-150. That looks like the Blazer. All these things, right? They have all these vehicles in these games. Have you ever heard of a car company coming out and say, yo, your car looks too close to our car. I don't know what's going on. Sue. Litigation. We are litigious. You ever heard of a company suing Rockstar because they're making cars that look too close to the cars that actually, are real, without they trying to get away with not getting a license? That's the comparison that popped into my head. But there are other instances where, it's the Dragon Ball Z versus Dragon Quest versus Pokemon. There was comparison there. That's probably why they're not doing anything, because if they try to sue for this, they will open up a can of worms that I don't think they want to. They're not ripping off. Know what that is? That's like? That's like saying, oh, your anime character looks like my anime character that has the same type of hair and the same skin color and the same big eyes and shut up. No, that's not how that works. Your car looks like my car. Your character looks like my character. It's cartoon monsters. Pokemon Company does not have the right to cartoon monsters. And they're slick too. They said this in the show. They said there's a bunch of Pokemon that look like inanimate objects, like ice cream cones and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, right. So if Palworld decides to make an ice cream cone looking like a monster looking like an ice cream cone, Pokemon Company can't sue them. They're making a monster based off of an ice cream cone. just because Pokemon did it doesn't get their exclusive rights to that type of mod. That's not how that works. So yeah, it's funny. It's like, oh, we made a car monster first. It's like, yeah, but so it's not a one-to-one copy, and that's the thing. It's like, we made a dragon. It's like, yeah, we made a dragon. It's like, oh, you can't make dragons because we made dragons first. It's like, no, that's not how. No, our dragons are realistic in our game. You can't make realistic dragons in your game. It's like, what? What are you talking about? How? Huh? You see, I can keep going. I can keep kind of extrapolating, going down the hole. Look at this sword. It looks just like the sword in my game. It's a sword. What are you talking about? I mean, that's a bad example, but you know, and who would sue for a sword, right? But you know, it's just ridiculous. So, and I think that's why you haven't really seen anything happen yet. I mean, some of the characterizations are close or reminiscent or give that Pokemon vibe, but it's Palworld. They're pals, you know, and like everyone is saying, I can see if the game played exactly like Pokemon. That's a whole different thing. The game plays nothing like Pokemon. The only thing that's barely similar is the art style of the monsters. That's it. But how it plays, it does so many things that are way better than Pokemon that Pokemon's looking at themselves like, why ain't we do this? Oh, that's because we're lazy and we just make a garbage Pokemon game and people buy it anyway. We just make money without even trying. I bet you the Pokemon, I'm just guessing. I bet you the Pokemon studio, the actual dev team that makes that game, it's not that big. Based off of the actual quality of the game that has been. Recently, I heard the last game was hot trash garbage, looked bad, played bad, performance-wise. People say, oh, it's fun to play, but I mean, it's Pokemon. It's the same formula they've been using for years. So, I don't know. I haven't played a Pokemon game, so I can't really comment on how it plays. But as I understand it, it is an RPG, turn-based. You catch the Pokemon, you train the Pokemon to get more powerful as RPG, and you fight other people with Pokemons and whatever. I get it. I understand what the game is. Palworld isn't even that. It's a survival game with little pals that you could capture to make your base mad dope nice. And I'm like, that alone is better than freaking what Pokemon do. Anyway, I think it's just ridiculous that they do, you know. And it's mainly like, it's the fanboys that are kind of trying to fuel this thing because it's not on PlayStation, so they got to hate on it extra hard and stuff. I'm like, y'all, I keep saying, so the downturn of Sony is happening in front of our eyes, live and living color, real person, real time. People don't want to admit it, they're in denial, whatever. And it's gonna keep happening, and it's gonna keep happening, and it's gonna keep happening. And that's what it's gonna be. And we see it day to day. And nothing else is, I mean, there might be some change. There might be some hope for Sony if they pop up some good games, if they actually make their version of, not a Palworld per se, but a game that affects the industry like Palworld. I mean, Last of Us Online was their hope. And that didn't work out. And I mean, we can go back again and reiterate, $7 million versus hundreds of million dollars that Sony spent on these games. No marketing versus all the marketing. Sony has to be kicking themselves in the face right now because they're looking at this game and like, what the how? Why can't we do this? They have the resources. They have the talent. Are they really creatively bankrupt? So creatively bankrupt that they can't come up with a goofy game that people want to play? Simplified art style that people want to play? And it sells millions and billions. They have all these IP that they can, leverage into something great. And every time they've tried it, it sucked. I think they tried it once, but it still sucked. And the fact that it sucked, they didn't go back and say, oh, can we change it and fix it and try to do something with it? No, they just kill it right away. That's what they do. They're like, oh, it's not working. Let's cut our losses as fast as possible. That's what Sony does. And until you get more better leadership in there with a different mindset, preferably somebody who plays games, somebody who is actually a coder who understands the language of making a game, then y'all have no hope. If they hire another suit to be CEO, y'all are done. That's it. That's it. They've hired many suits. Just a bunch of businessmen trying to make money. You need a gamer who understands the business. Until that happens, so there's no hope for Sony. Sony's gonna slowly deteriorate, crash, burn. It's gonna be over. Like King says, no PS5, no PS6, excuse me. You know, PlayStation's gonna be an app. Anyway, I appreciate y'all hanging out. Like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Sony's strategy, PlayStation strategy, and the whole like percentage game and the console, not the console war stuff, but the Xbox tax. One last thing I want to say about the Xbox tax. Remember when Rise of the Tomb Raider came out for the 360, for the Xbox One, and it was like exclusive for a year or whatever it was? And everybody's like, oh, this is not right, this is unfair, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna say, I mean, that's not when the Xbox tax started, but I'm gonna say that's a pivotal point of the origins of the now current day Xbox tax. It started then. The sentiment started then, and it has continued to this day. But anyway, I'm done. Appreciate y'all hanging out. Like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what's up, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Till the wait.